it is often said, and it is true, that the school is the best place to change attitudes. At the school, knowledge and skills are acquired, attitude is changed, and children are developed to have an objective, constructive, and analytical way of thinking. So education is not an end, but a means.
In the Gambia, as in many third world countries, teachers account for little socially and economically, despite being unanimously endorsed as #1 instruments for social and financial advancements. Those teachers in Region 6 have been for 2 years now enjoying a special day set aside by the Directorate to recognize and say thank you to their services, for which it seems no monetary value could reward. Region 6 is a country with a history of reluctance on the side of public service. The education director of the region used the occasion to inform the gathering about the change of trend of this attitude for teachers, history registering a tremendous success in the areas that potentially repel.
Region 6 is fast becoming a competitive and performing region in terms of teachers' output and students' performance. You've seen the sketch that was put up by 2 of our schools, St. George's and Nasir Senior Secondary School.
This positive change of teacher mentality with its resultant in academic achievement, Mrs. Cole says, is attributable to on efforts of important educational partners, teachers, to keep it up.
I will conclude my remarks by urging every single in this region to continue harder with greater commitment, dedication, and honesty, which reward will be greater in heaven for the service they are rendering to humanity.
Important, the society recognizes and salutes the commitments and sacrifices of teachers, whose job, Janir Sanyang believes, is increasingly transcending mere conventional role of inculcating knowledge, leaning for support on a renowned Croatian educationist.
The future of every society is defined by its present care for the young. The knowledge, the skills, the way of thinking and values children acquire growing up process influence not only the foundation of us as individuals, but also the development of the entire community of which they are part. That is why education is such a special and responsible task of every society.
This, Sanyang says, has complicated teachers' role, and with all the compounding odds, have further presented their case of handling the noblest profession under the sun. The occasion was spiced up by the performances by a local scout band and a play on early marriage and teenage pregnancy. Awards of recognition were also issued to deserving schools, teachers, school administrators, with the regional director issuing surprise awards to those people she felt have made her work quite easy and successful over the years. This regional Teachers Award ceremony that started here has now become an annual event for the educational fraternity of this region. The event seeks to recognize and honor the efforts of those teachers in school that have extraordinarily excelled in the previous academic year. And the event is particularly crucial for those teachers that are given the responsibility of nurturing and shaping the future of those children that will ultimately be given the responsibility of running the affairs of the country in particular and the world in general. For GRTS News, I am Mohamed Jamal Sisi from the Regional Education Directorate, Region 6, Basse, Upper River Region.
Staff of the Gambia Ports Authority, aided by some refugees in Fonyi Kansala, recently stormed President Jammeh's farm in Dobong for a clearing exercise ahead of this year's cropping season. Fatou Jassa saw the volunteers in action.
As Gambians from all walks of life continue to respond to President Jammeh's Eat What You Grow and Grow What You Eat philosophy, the staff of the Gambia Ports Authority and dock workers are not left behind. The latest group joined in the efforts to clear this massive land belonging to President Jammeh are members of the Casamance refugees residing in the area. They came to show solidarity with the Gambian leader. Since we arrived here some years ago, we were overwhelmed with the reception and hospitality accorded to us by our Gambian host. Siaka Bojang, the Secretary General of the refugee community in the area, told me. One of the ways to reciprocate that good gesture is to extend a helping hand on this farm. For Bakari Njai, this is not their first time they are embarking on such farming initiative, and with 4 tractors already available to them, they are convinced a greater yield will be realized. Njai went on to say that crops like groundnut that are mostly grown in large quantity is not consumed and processed, but the hay is of great importance to animals. Dembo Jammeh is the president of the Dog Workers Association. Jammeh hailed the move, noting that this is what is expected of every citizen. Biran Kamara, who spearheaded the exercise, commended the workers for their hard work and commitment to the progress of the farm. Officials are confident of a bumper harvest and are targeting the top prize for the best-run institution farm in the country. A lot would depend on what they do on the farm in the coming weeks. For GRTS News, I am Fatou Jassi.
And before we go on our break, this is a reminder that you can follow that story and other GRTS programs on our GRTS website, www.grts.gm. You can also monitor GRTS Radio Live on that site. We'll now go for our first break. We'll be back with news from beyond the Gambia. Welcome back. Scores of dissidents in Damascus have called on President Assad to surrender absolute power. Hundreds of people met to discuss how to relieve the country from Assad's iron-fisted rule. As we hear in this report, new amateur videos have shown violence between security forces and protesters.
Some 100 Syrian dissidents met Monday in a hotel in Damascus to discuss a way out of the crisis and a transition to democracy. All are independent of any party affiliation. The meeting was unprecedented in 5 decades of iron-fisted rule in Syria. Organizers said the gathering had approval from a senior aide to President Bashar al-Assad. But many anti-regime activists say they condemn any meeting held under the banner of the regime. Observers say President Assad needs to show that he wants to discuss change with the dissidents in order to improve his image, especially with Turkey. Tension has arisen in relations between the two countries because of thousands of Syrians crossing over the border to seek refuge. Meanwhile, as the meeting was taking place, this amateur video shows what appears to be police officers beating 2 men with batons and forcing them into the trunk of a car. The content of the video cannot be verified. Human rights groups say as many as 1,300 civilians have been killed and at least 1,200 have been arrested since the uprising began 3 months ago.
Over 100 protesters took to the streets in Dakar to show their anger against frequent power cuts in the country. The riots caused extensive damages to property and infrastructure, including the headquarters of the National Power Corporation, Senelec. Though officials of the power company have assured Senegalese that power outages will soon be history, many are afraid that the public will not be appeased. Let's look at this report for more.
Street cleaners did their best Tuesday morning to clean up the capital, Dakar, after a night during which people ransacked the offices of the National Electric Power Company. Windows were broken and cars burnt when people took to the streets to protest recurring power cuts in the capital. Officials from the Electric Power Company have tried to calm down the situation.
We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel because with the help of the Fund for Energy Support, everything is being done to stabilize electric power supply and to renovate the power plants. With the future capabilities, I think we're not far from a solution.
But it's not sure that such optimism will calm angry residents. On Monday afternoon, hundreds of demonstrators in Dakar who had had enough of power outages decided to express their anger. They blocked various streets and targeted the branches of the Electric Power Company.
We've been without electricity since 5 this morning. The country's tired of this. People are fed up.
No figures have been released concerning the number of arrests or the extent of the damage. The Senegalese have experienced regular power cuts for months. These have intensified over recent weeks, lasting sometimes 2 days in a row. The power cuts disrupt